The message arrived on a Tuesday morning, crackling through the deep space communication arrays of the Zephyrian Empire. General Vextar stood in the command center of his flagship, watching the strange symbols translate across the main screen. His 4 eyes narrowed as he read the words that would haunt him for the rest of his life. To the Zephyrian Empire, we are the Watchers. We have observed your expansion toward the Sol system. We offer this warning freely. Never attack the humans. They are different from other species. They won't let you run. Consider this carefully. The bridge fell silent. Vextar's scaled hands gripped the command rail as he stared at the message. Around him, his officers shifted nervously. The Watchers were ancient, older than any known civilization. They had been sending cryptic messages across the galaxy for thousands of years, but they had never warned anyone about anything before. "Sir," his intelligence officer spoke up, "our scouts report the third planet of the Sol system shows primitive technology. Basic rockets, simple nuclear weapons, constant warfare among their own kind. They call themselves humans." Vextar laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the chamber. "The Watchers grow old and fearful. Look at these creatures." He gestured to the holographic display showing Earth. "They fight each other over patches of dirt. Their weapons are crude. Their ships barely reach their own moon. What could such primitives do to the might of our empire?" The general turned away from the message. "Delete this nonsense. Prepare the fleet for standard conquest protocol." Light years away, on a blue world spinning peacefully around its yellow star, Captain Jake Sullivan was having his morning coffee when the alarms started screaming. He nearly dropped his cup as red lights flashed throughout Aurora Station, Earth's newest orbital defense platform. "Captain, to the bridge," the intercom crackled. "Priority 1 alert." Jake ran through the corridors, his boots echoing off the metal walls. Aurora Station was humanity's pride, built with the best technology Earth could manage. It wasn't much compared to what science fiction movies imagined, but it was theirs. The bridge doors slid open as he approached. "Report," Jake called out, settling into his command chair. Lieutenant Lisa Park turned from her console, her face pale. "Sir, we're picking up massive energy signatures on the edge of the solar system. Multiple contacts, moving fast. They're not ours." Jake felt his stomach drop. For decades, scientists had wondered if humanity was alone in the universe. Apparently, they weren't, and their new neighbors hadn't called ahead. "How many?" he asked. 30 contacts, sir. Large ones. They're decelerating from faster than light. Speeds. On the main screen, dots of light appeared against the star field. Even at this distance, Jake could see they were huge. Each ship was easily 10 times the size of Aurora Station. "Get me Dr. Foster," Jake ordered. Dr. Alan Foster arrived within minutes, his lab coat still stained with coffee from his hurried trip to the bridge. He was Earth's leading expert on theoretical alien contact, though he had never expected to use his knowledge practically. "What do you think, Doc?" Jake asked. Foster studied the readings, his weathered face growing grim. "If these are ships, they're using technology we don't understand. The energy output alone suggests power sources beyond our current capabilities. Are they hostile?" "Captain, any species that can cross interstellar space has weapons we can't imagine. Whether they're hostile or not, we're at their mercy." Jake activated the communication system. "Send a standard first contact message on all frequencies. Tell them we're peaceful and want to talk." For 6 hours they waited. The alien ships continued their approach, ignoring every attempt at communication. They passed Jupiter, then Mars, moving steadily toward Earth. Finally, when they reached the outer edge of Earth's orbital space, a response came. The voice was translated by computer systems, but the cold authority came through clearly. primitive inhabitants of the third planet. You will surrender immediately. Resistance will result in the destruction of your cities. You have one of your solar rotations to comply. Jake looked around the bridge. His crew stared back at him, waiting for orders. These people had volunteered for orbital duty, knowing the risks. They were soldiers, scientists, and engineers who had left families on Earth to stand guard in the cold darkness of space. "Open a channel," Jake said quietly. "Channel open, sir. This is Captain Jake Sullivan of the Earth Defense Force. We don't know who you are or what you want, but Earth is our home. We won't surrender it to anyone." The response came immediately. "Your courage is noted, but irrelevant. We are the Zephyrian Empire. We have conquered 47 worlds. Your resistance will only determine how many of your people die." Jake closed the channel and turned to his crew. "All hands, battle stations. Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we're about to find out what humans are really made of." On Earth, President Alex Carter received the message in the White House Situation Room. Around the table sat the leaders of every major nation, their faces grim as they absorbed the news. The human race faced extinction, and their most advanced weapons were toys compared to what approached. "How long do we have?" the president asked. 20 hours, sir," replied General Morris, chairman of the Joint Chiefs. "Maybe less? Options? We fight. It's all we can do." Meanwhile, in the depths of the Zephyrian flagship, General Vex-Tar reviewed the tactical data. His ships could destroy every human city within minutes. Their orbital platforms would fall even faster. This would be the easiest conquest in Zephyrian history. "General," his communications officer reported, "the humans are mobilizing their military forces. Primitive aircraft and ground vehicles are moving to defensive positions." Vex-Tar almost felt sorry for them. Standard procedure. Target their major population centers first. Leave the military installations for last, so they can witness the futility of resistance. But something nagged at him. The human captain's voice had carried no fear, no desperation. Just a calm statement of fact. Vex-Tar shook his head. The Watcher's warning was making him paranoid. As the alien fleet took positions above Earth, Captain Jake Sullivan made his final preparations. Aurora Station wasn't much, but it was humanity's farthest outpost. When the shooting started, they would be the first to die and the first to fight back. He thought about his sister back in Ohio, about the nephew he would never see grow up. He thought about the billions of people sleeping below, unaware that their world was about to change forever. "Sir," Lisa Park called softly. "They're powering weapons." Jake nodded. "All stations report ready, sir." "Then let's show them what humans do when someone threatens our home." The war for humanity's survival was about to begin, and neither side truly understood what they were starting. The first strike came at dawn over New York City. Sarah Martinez was walking to work when the sky turned white. She looked up to see a massive alien ship hanging over Manhattan like a dark cloud. Then the beam fired, and everything she had ever known disappeared in a flash of superheated plasma. The same scene repeated across Earth. London burned first, then Tokyo, then Moscow. Within 3 hours, 12 major cities were smoking ruins. The Zephyrian Empire had announced their arrival. With the deaths of 50 million humans in the White House bunker, President Alex Carter watched the destruction on dozens of screens. Each feed showed the same horror. Skyscrapers melted like candles. Streets filled with glass and ash. Survivors stumbled through the wreckage, calling for help that would never come. "Mr. President," General Morris said quietly, "we're receiving surrender offers from 17 nations. France, Germany, and Japan have all requested immediate ceasefire negotiations." Carter stared at the screens. His wife and daughter were in a bunker in Colorado, safe for now. but millions of other families were dead or dying. The rage building in his chest felt like molten metal. "Send a message to all world leaders," he said slowly. "We don't negotiate with murderers. We fight them." In orbit, Captain Jake Sullivan watched New York die from the bridge of Aurora Station. The city where he had been born was now a crater of twisted metal and burning concrete. His hands shook as he gripped his command chair. "Sir," Lieutenant Lisa Park whispered, "they're targeting the lunar colonies next." Jake forced himself to think past the anger. Aurora Station had weapons, but they were built to fight space debris and small asteroids. The alien ships were armored monsters that could swat them like flies. But sometimes a fly could sting before it died. "All crew to battle stations," he announced over the intercom. "This is not a drill. We're going to hit them as hard as we can." Dr. Alan Foster appeared on the bridge, carrying a tablet full of calculations. "Jake, I've been studying their energy patterns. Their shields have a rotation cycle. For 0.3 seconds every 30 seconds, there's a gap. Can we exploit it? If we time it perfectly, our plasma torpedoes might penetrate their hull." It wasn't much of a chance, but it was better than nothing. Jake looked around at his crew. These 37 people were about to die, and they all knew it. But they also knew that sometimes dying was less important than fighting. "Target the lead ship," Jake ordered. "Wait for my mark." The alien fleet hung in space like predators, circling wounded prey. Their ships were beautiful in a terrifying way, all smooth curves and gleaming metal. They had come from the stars to claim a new world, and they expected the usual pattern. Shock, fear, surrender, occupation. They were about to learn that humans didn't follow patterns. Back on Earth, Colonel Sam Mitchell was having a very different kind of morning. His mountain base in Colorado had been built to survive nuclear war, and it was holding up well against alien attack. But Sam wasn't thinking about defense. He was thinking about payback. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we're getting reports from resistance cells worldwide. London survivors are already organizing. Paris has gone underground. The Japanese are forming civilian militias." Sam smiled grimly. The aliens had made a crucial mistake. They had killed enough humans to make the survivors angry, but not enough to break their spirit. Every person who crawled out of those burning cities would remember what happened today. "Send word to all cells," Sam ordered. "Standard guerrilla protocols. Hit their supply lines, avoid direct confrontation, make them bleed for every mile." Meanwhile, in the Nevada desert, Dr. Rachel Green was doing something that would change the war. Her underground research facility had survived the first wave of attacks, and she was studying fragments of alien technology recovered from a crashed scout ship. "Incredible," she murmured, examining the metallic debris under a microscope. "There. Hull plating uses a crystalline matrix we've never seen before. But look at this." Her assistant, Dr. Mark Taylor, leaned over her shoulder. "What am I looking at?" "Stress fractures. This material is strong, but it's brittle. Hit it wrong, and it shatters like glass." The aliens built their ships for intimidation, not for sustained combat. It was the first good news anyone had heard all day in space. The moment arrived. Jake watched the tactical display as the lead Zephyrian ship's shields flickered through their rotation cycle. Everything depended on timing. "Fire," he whispered. Aurora Station's torpedo tubes spat plasma fire into the void. The brilliant streaks of energy crossed the darkness and struck the alien ship just as its shields dropped. For a moment, nothing happened. Then explosions rippled across the alien hull as their own power systems turned against them. The massive ship listed to 1, sighed, venting atmosphere and debris. It was still functional, but it was hurt. More importantly, it was no longer invincible. Direct hit, Lisa Park announced, her voice filled with amazement. "We actually hurt them." The celebration lasted exactly 4 seconds. Then the alien fleet turned their weapons on Aurora Station. Jake had just enough time to hit the general alarm before the first barrage arrived. Plasma beams turned the station's outer hull into vapor. Compartments exploded into space, taking pieces of his crew with them. "All hands abandon ship," he shouted over the chaos. "Get to the escape pods." As his crew evacuated, Jake stayed on the bridge, manually targeting the station's remaining weapons. If he was going to die, he would take as many aliens with him as possible. It was a very human way of thinking. The station's reactor began to overload as Jake fired the last torpedo salvo. Through the bridge windows, he could see 3 more alien ships burning. Not bad for a primitive human. Dr. Foster appeared beside him, refusing to evacuate. "Someone should witness this," the old scientist said calmly. Together, they watched Aurora Station's final moments. The reactor containment failed, and the explosion lit up space like a new star. The blast wave caught 2 more alien ships, their shields failing under the unexpected assault. In the escape pod, Lieutenant Lisa Park watched her home die, but she also saw something else. The alien fleet was pulling back, regrouping. They had expected an easy victory, and instead they had lost 5 ships to a single human station. On the Zephyrian flagship, General Vexstar stared at the damage reports in disbelief. 5 ships destroyed, 12 more damaged, all by primitives who should have surrendered hours ago. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "the humans are not responding to our demands. Instead, they're mobilizing more military units." Vexstars. 4 eyes narrowed. "Impossible. We destroyed their major cities. They should be begging for mercy." "Perhaps they didn't understand the message, sir." But Vexstar was beginning to suspect they understood perfectly. The humans weren't responding. Like any species he had conquered before, usually a show of force brought immediate surrender. These creatures seemed to think that massive casualties were just the beginning of a fight. For the first time since reading the Watcher's message, Vexstar felt a chill of doubt. What exactly had his empire started? On Earth, President Carter addressed the world from his bunker. His words were broadcast to every surviving communication network, carried by emergency radio to the ruins of great cities. "Today we learned we are not alone in the universe," he said quietly. "We also learned that some neighbors are not friendly. They have killed our people and burned our cities. They expect us to surrender. They are wrong. We are humans. We don't surrender our home to anyone." Around the world, the survivors heard the message and understood. The war for Earth had begun, and it would not end until one side was completely destroyed. The aliens had wanted a quick conquest. Instead, they had awakened something they didn't understand. They had awakened humanity's capacity for endless, relentless war. 6 months after the invasion, General Vexstar stood in his command center and wondered how everything had gone so wrong. The planet below should have been peaceful by now. The humans should have accepted Zephyrian rule and begun the process of integration into the Empire. Instead, his forces controlled only the major cities, and even those were under constant attack. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we've lost another supply convoy." The humans hit the transport near what they called Denver. No survivors. Vexstar's scaled hands clenched into fists. "That's the 4th convoy this week." "How are these primitives finding our ships?" "Unknown, sir. They appear to have developed new scanning technology. Our stealth systems are no longer effective." In the ruins of what used to be Chicago, General Kate Phillips crouched in an abandoned subway tunnel, studying holographic displays that would have seemed like magic 6 months ago. Her resistance cell had grown from 12 survivors to over 3,000 fighters, all united by one simple goal: make the aliens pay for every day they stayed on Earth. "Tony, what's the status on the convoy intercept?" she asked. Tony Walsh, a former car mechanic who had become her best pilot, grinned as he climbed out of a captured alien fighter. "Perfect hit, General. We got all 6 transports and the escort. Ships, no human casualties." Kate nodded. The aliens had expected broken survivors hiding in caves. Instead, they found an entire planet that had transformed itself into a weapon. Every human who survived the first attacks had become a soldier, scientist, or saboteur. "Dr. Foster, how are the weapon modifications coming?" Dr. Amy Foster looked. Up from her workbench, where she was installing human-made components into alien energy rifles. Amy was Rachel Green's younger sister, and she had inherited the family talent for making alien technology work better than the aliens intended. "We've improved the power output by 30%, Amy reported. "The aliens designed their weapons for intimidation, not efficiency. A few modifications, and they become much more deadly." Kate smiled grimly. The humans were learning to turn the aliens' own tools against them. But more importantly, they were about to take the fight beyond Earth, deep in a hidden bunker in the Rocky Mountains. Commander Rick Hayes reviewed the mission plans one final time. Rick had been an astronaut before the invasion, one of the few humans with real experience in deep space. Now he commanded a ship that would make history. The ship was called Retribution, and it was humanity's first attempt at building something that could fight the aliens in space. Built from captured Zephyrian technology and human ingenuity, it looked like no ship either species had ever seen. "All systems green," reported his pilot, Lieutenant Maria Santos. "Fusion drive is stable, weapons are charged, and stealth systems are active." Rick looked around at his crew of 20 volunteers. Each one had lost family in the invasion. Each one had volunteered for what everyone assumed was a suicide mission. They were going to attack a Zephyrian supply depot in the Alpha Centauri system, 4 light years from Earth. "Remember," Rick told his crew, "we're not just hitting a supply depot, we're sending a message. We're telling every alien in the galaxy that humans will follow them anywhere." The Retribution launched from a hidden base in Antarctica using captured alien faster-than-light technology to cross interstellar space in days instead of years. When they arrived at Alpha Centauri, they found exactly what intelligence had promised: a massive supply station orbiting the system's outer planets. The station was huge, easily 10 times the size of any human structure. It supplied the entire Zephyrian occupation force with food, ammunition, and replacement equipment. It was also completely undefended, because no conquered species had ever attacked beyond their own solar system. "Beginning attack run," Maria announced as she piloted the ship toward the station. The humans struck without warning. Their modified weapons tore through alien hull plating like paper. Explosions rippled across the station as fuel depots and ammunition storage areas detonated. Within minutes, the entire structure was breaking apart. But Rick wasn't finished. As alien emergency crews tried to evacuate, he broadcast a message on all Zephyrian frequencies. "This is Commander Rick Hayes of the Human Resistance. You came to our home and killed our people. Now we're coming to yours. Nowhere is safe. Nowhere is too far. We will find you." Back on Earth, Dr. Rachel Green was having her own breakthrough. Working in a laboratory built inside a natural cave system, she had solved the puzzle of Zephyrian faster-than-light travel. The aliens used a technology that folded space-time, allowing ships to travel vast distances instantly. "It's beautiful," she murmured, studying the alien drive components. "And completely vulnerable to disruption." Her assistant, Dr. Kevin Brooks, looked confused. "What do you mean?" "They've made their ships dependent on a single type of crystal for navigation. disrupt the crystal's resonance frequency, and there, ships drop out of faster-than-light travel wherever they happen to be. Rachel smiled as she realized the implications. The aliens thought space was their sanctuary, a place where primitive humans could never reach them. They were about to learn. Otherwise, on the Zephyrian homeworld of Zeph Prime, the ruling council met in emergency session. The news from Alpha Centauri had shaken the entire empire. No species had ever followed Zephyrian forces home before. "This is impossible," declared Councillor Vexpo. "The humans lack the technology for interstellar warfare." "Apparently not," replied Councillor Morden. "Our supply depot is gone, and they've threatened further attacks." General Vexstar attended the meeting via hologram from his flagship above Earth. "Honored councilors, I recommend immediate reinforcement. These humans are unlike any species we've encountered." "Explain," demanded the council leader. Vexstar struggled to find words for what he was experiencing. "They don't fight like civilized beings. When we destroy their cities, they become more dangerous, not less. When we kill their leaders, more leaders appear. It's as if the entire species has gone insane." What Vexstar didn't understand was that the humans weren't insane. They were doing exactly what their species had always done when faced with extinction. They were adapting, learning, and fighting back with everything they had. On Earth, the resistance cells were coordinating attacks across the globe. In London, survivors used the underground tunnels to strike at alien patrols. In Tokyo, civilians had turned the entire city into a trap, with explosives hidden in every building. In New York's ruins, scavengers picked apart alien technology and sent the pieces to resistance scientists. But the most important development was happening in secret. Dr. Amy Foster had completed work on humanity's first fleet of interstellar warships. Built in hidden facilities across the planet, these ships combined human determination with alien technology. "General Phillips," Amy reported over secure communication, "the fleet is ready. 12 ships, each one capable of faster-than-light travel and armed with our improved weapons." Kate Phillips looked at the tactical display showing alien positions throughout human space. The aliens controlled Earth's surface, but they had made a critical mistake. They had given humans access to their technology, and humans were very good at improving things. "Prepare for launch," she ordered. "It's time to show these aliens what humans do to invaders." As the human fleet prepared to launch, General Vexstar received disturbing reports from across Zephyrian space. Supply convoys were disappearing. Outposts were going silent. The humans weren't content to fight for their own planet anymore. They were hunting Zephyrian forces wherever they could find them. For the first time in his military career, Vexstar wondered if his empire had made a terrible mistake. The Watchers had warned them never to attack the humans. Now he was beginning to understand why. The humans weren't fighting a war of conquest or territory. They were fighting a war of extermination. And they were very, very good at it. As the human ships launched into the darkness between stars, their crews carried a simple message: Earth remembers, Earth follows. And Earth never stops hunting those who threaten humanity. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when someone made humans truly angry. 2 years after the first Zephyrian ship entered human space, Captain Nina Brooks stood on the bridge of her vessel and watched another alien colony burn. The ship was called Vengeance, and it was humanity's most advanced warship, built entirely from reverse-engineered alien technology. It could travel faster than any Zephyrian vessel and hit harder than anything in their fleet. Nina had named it herself after watching the aliens destroy her hometown of Seattle. "Ma'am," her weapons. Officer called out, "The mining platform is destroyed. All alien personnel have evacuated to the surface." Nina studied the planet below through the main screen. Vega 7 had been a peaceful Zephyrian mining world until yesterday. Now it was another target in humanity's expanding war. The aliens had started this fight thinking it would be contained to one solar system. They were learning otherwise. "Scan for underground facilities," she ordered. "If they're hiding equipment down there, I want it found." Her tactical officer, Lieutenant Paul Martinez, looked up from his console. "Captain, we're detecting massive underground complexes. Looks like they've been mining rare minerals for decades." Nina smiled coldly. "The Zephyrians use these minerals to build their faster-than-light drives. Without them, their entire fleet would be stranded in normal space. Target the mining shafts. Collapse everything." The Vengeance's main guns fired, sending streams of concentrated energy into the planet's crust. Deep underground, centuries of mining work vanished in minutes. When the smoke cleared, Vega 7 was worthless as a supply source. But Nina wasn't finished. She opened a communication channel to the fleeing alien ships. "This is Captain Nina Brooks of the human fleet. You attacked our world. You killed our people. Now we're destroying everything you built. Tell your leaders that humans don't forgive. And we don't forget." Light years away, on the Zephyrian homeworld of Zeph Prime, the ruling council was learning exactly what human vengeance looked like. 17 colonies attacked this month, reported military coordinator Jexstar. 8 mining operations destroyed, 4 research stations captured, and 3 entire fleets eliminated. The humans are systematically dismantling our infrastructure. Counselor. Dexful slammed his fist on the meeting table. This was supposed to be a simple conquest. One primitive world. How did it become a threat to our entire empire? General Vextar appeared via hologram, his image flickering with interference from human jamming signals. Even the Zephyrian homeworld wasn't safe from human technology anymore. "Honored Council," Vextar began, "I must report that the situation on Earth has become impossible. We control only 3 major cities, and those are under constant attack. The humans have turned their entire planet into a fortress. What about reinforcements?" demanded Counselor Morden. "Destroyed before they reach Earth. The humans have established bases throughout our territory. They intercept our ships and steal our technology. Every month they become stronger while we become weaker." What the Zephyrian Council didn't understand was that they were facing something unique in galactic history. Most species fought wars to win territory or resources. Humans fought wars to eliminate threats completely. On Earth, General Kate Phillips was coordinating operations from a massive underground complex built beneath the ruins of Denver. Her resistance network had evolved into something the aliens had never encountered. A planetary government dedicated entirely to warfare. "Status report," she called to her operations staff. "Ma'am," reported Colonel Dan Cooper, "the Pacific Fleet has destroyed 3 more Zephyrian supply bases. The Atlantic Fleet is pursuing enemy forces toward the Centauri sector, and our ground forces have retaken Los Angeles." Kate nodded with satisfaction. The aliens still held parts of Earth, but they were losing ground every day. More importantly, the human fleet was carrying the war deep into Zephyrian space. "What about the new weapon research?" Dr. Amy Foster stepped forward, her face excited. "We've had a breakthrough, General. We've learned to disrupt Zephyrian faster-than-light travel. Remotely, we can trap entire fleets in normal space and destroy them at our leisure." Kate smiled. The aliens had given humanity access to their technology, thinking it would make occupation easier. Instead, humans had learned to use that technology better than the aliens themselves. In another part of the complex, Dr. Rachel Green was working on an even more ambitious project. Her team had captured several Zephyrian officers and was learning disturbing things about the alien empire. "They've conquered 47 species," she reported to Kate during their weekly briefing. "But they've never faced extended resistance. Most species surrender after losing their major cities. What makes us different? Rachel paused, considering her words carefully. The aliens fight wars like we used to fight battles. They expect clear victories and negotiated endings. They don't understand the concept of total war. What Rachel was describing was humanity's greatest strength and most terrifying characteristic. When truly threatened, humans didn't just fight to win. They fought to ensure the threat never returned. Meanwhile, the human fleet continued its relentless advance through Zephyrian space. Captain Rick Hayes, now commanding a battle group of 8 ships, had established forward bases in 3 captured systems. These bases served a simple purpose. They ensured that no Zephyrian ship could travel safely anywhere in the galaxy. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we're receiving a priority message from High Command." Rick read the message and smiled. Earth's leadership had made a decision that would change the war completely. They were no longer fighting to drive the aliens from Earth. They were fighting to dismantle the Zephyrian Empire piece by piece. The new orders were simple: find every Zephyrian colony, outpost, and fleet. Destroy or capture everything. Take prisoners when possible for intelligence gathering. Leave nothing operational that could threaten humanity in the future. It was a declaration of total war, and Rick's crews embraced it enthusiastically. On Zeph Prime, civilian populations were beginning to panic. The war that was supposed to bring quick expansion and new resources had instead brought human raiders to their doorstep. Zephyrian news broadcasts showed footage of burning colonies and captured fleets. "The humans are monsters," declared one civilian in a recorded interview. "They destroy everything. They show no mercy. Why don't they negotiate like civilized beings?" The answer was simple, though no Zephyrian understood it yet. The humans were following their own definition of civilization, a threat to humanity's. Survival must be eliminated completely, no matter how long it took or how far they had to travel. General Vextar was beginning to understand this reality. His latest intelligence reports showed human ships operating in 12 different star systems. They had established supply bases, recruiting stations, and shipyards throughout former Zephyrian territory. "Sir," his aide reported, "the Council is demanding another strategy briefing." Vextar laughed bitterly. Strategy? What strategy could work against an enemy that treated interstellar war like a local conflict? The humans had turned the entire galaxy into their battlefield. "Tell the Council the truth," he said quietly. "We're not fighting a war anymore. We're fighting for our species' survival." Back on Earth, President Alex Carter addressed the human population from his rebuilt office in Washington. The capital had been recaptured 3 months ago, and the city was slowly rising from the ashes. "My fellow humans," he began, "2 years ago, aliens came to our world expecting easy conquest. They found something else. They found a species that doesn't surrender its home to anyone." The broadcast was transmitted not just to Earth, but to every human ship scattered across the galaxy. "Today, our fleets operate in star systems the aliens thought were safe. Tomorrow, we will reach systems they thought were unreachable. We will not stop until every threat to humanity is eliminated." Carter paused, his next words carrying the weight of an entire species' determination. "They started this war thinking we were weak. They will end it knowing that humans are the most dangerous species in the galaxy." As the broadcast ended, Zephyrian intelligence officers who had intercepted the signal realized something terrifying. The humans weren't just fighting to win a war. They were fighting to establish themselves as the galaxy's dominant predator, and they were succeeding. The Watcher's ancient warning echoed through Zephyrian command centers. Never attack the humans. They won't let you run. General Vextar finally understood what those words meant. The humans wouldn't let them run, because humans didn't believe in letting threats escape. Once marked as enemies, The Zephyrians would be hunted until their entire civilization was destroyed or completely transformed. War had entered a new phase, and only one species would survive it unchanged. 5 years after the first alien ship entered human space, Admiral Beth Connor stood on the bridge of her flagship and watched the Zephyrian homeworld burn. A massive human fleet surrounded Zeph Prime like hunters cornering wounded prey. 200 ships hung in space around the alien capital, each one built from captured technology and human determination. The Zephyrian Empire that had once controlled 12 star systems now held only 3 worlds, and even those were under constant attack. Admiral, her communications officer reported, we're receiving surrender broadcasts from the planetary surface. They're offering to negotiate terms. Beth stared at the blue-green world below. It looked peaceful from space, almost like Earth. But this planet was home to the species that had murdered 50 million humans in a single day. The species that had thought humanity would roll over and die. Open a channel to all Zephyrian frequencies, she ordered. When the channel opened, Beth's voice carried the weight of 5 years of interstellar war. This is Admiral Beth Connor of the human fleet. You came to our home 5 years ago. You burned our cities and killed our families. You thought we would surrender. You were wrong. She paused, letting her words sink in across the alien homeworld. You started this war. Now we finish it. Unconditional surrender, or we turn your planet into a memorial for our dead. On the planet's surface, in the capital city of Zeftal, General Vextar received the human ultimatum with something approaching relief. For 5 years, he had watched his mighty empire crumble under human assault. Species that had served the Zephyrians for centuries were now switching sides, offering to help the humans in exchange for protection. Sir, his aide whispered, the ruling council is requesting your presence for an emergency meeting. Vextar walked through the city streets toward the council chambers. Everywhere he looked, he saw the signs of a civilization in collapse. Alien refugees from destroyed colonies filled the streets. Food was scarce because human raiders had destroyed most supply lines. Even the mighty Zephyrian military was reduced to a few hundred ships hiding in deep space. The council chambers were chaos when he arrived. Councilors shouted at each other in 3 different languages, each faction blaming the others for the disaster. Order, demanded Council Leader Mordin. General Vextar, report on our military situation. Vextar looked around the room at faces that had once commanded an empire. Now they looked like frightened civilians, hoping someone else would solve their problems. Honored counselors, he began, we have perhaps 50 operational warships remaining. The humans have destroyed our shipyards, captured our colonies, and recruited our former subjects into their own forces. We cannot win this war. Then we negotiate, declared Councillor Vexful. Surely the humans will accept reasonable terms. Vextar almost laughed. After 5 years of watching human tactics, he understood something the Council refused to accept. The humans don't negotiate with enemies. They eliminate them. Meanwhile, in Earth's rebuilt capital of Washington, President Alex Carter was holding his own council of war. The years of conflict had aged him, turning his hair white and carving deep lines in his face. But his eyes still burned with the determination that had carried humanity through its darkest hour. Status report, he requested. General Kate Phillips, now Earth's Minister of Defense, stood before a holographic display showing the entire galaxy. Red dots marked former Zephyrian holdings, now under human control. Blue dots showed active human fleets. The map told the story of humanity's relentless advance. Mr. President, Kate reported, Admiral Connor's fleet has Zeph Prime surrounded. Our intelligence networks report that several Zephyrian factions want to surrender, but others are planning to flee to distant systems. Carter nodded. This was The moment humanity had been preparing for. And our deep space tracking? Dr. Rachel Green stepped forward, her hair now streaked with premature gray from years of intense research. Sir, we've mapped every Zephyrian ship in the galaxy. Our new sensor network can track faster-than-light travel across vast distances. If they run, we'll follow them. Carter looked around the room at the people who had transformed humanity from victims to galactic predators. Send the order to all. Fleet commanders, no Zephyrian military force escapes. We end this threat completely. Back in orbit around Zeph Prime, Admiral Beth Connor received Earth's final authorization. She had been waiting for this moment since watching Aurora Station die 5 years ago. Captain Jake Sullivan and his crew would finally be avenged. All ships, she broadcast to her fleet, commence final assault. Target all military installations, government buildings, and communication centers. Civilian areas are to be spared unless they harbor military targets. The human fleet opened fire, with weapons that made the original Zephyrian assault on Earth look primitive. Years of captured technology and human innovation had created ships that could destroy entire cities with single shots. But unlike the aliens, the humans were precise. They targeted only military and government structures. On Zeph Prime's surface, Counselor Vexval watched human weapons tear apart the planetary defense grid. "This is impossible," he whispered. "How did primitives become so powerful?" General Vextar answered quietly. "They learned from us. Everything we taught them about war, they improved. Everything we showed them about technology, they made better. We created our own destroyers." The truth was more complex than even Vextar understood. Humans hadn't just learned Zephyrian technology. They had transformed it through a lens of absolute determination. While aliens built weapons for intimidation, humans built them for complete victory. As the bombardment continued, emergency broadcasts filled Zephyrian communication networks. Ships throughout the Empire were receiving the same message from human fleets: surrender immediately or be destroyed. This is your only warning. Some Zephyrian commanders chose surrender. Others tried to flee to distant star systems, hoping to escape human vengeance. They learned quickly that humans had prepared for this possibility. That Captain Nina Brooks, now commanding a pursuit fleet, intercepted a group of fleeing Zephyrian ships near the edge of the galaxy. "This is Captain Brooks," she broadcast to the alien vessels. "Stop your engines and prepare to be boarded." When the aliens tried to run, Nina's ships used Dr. Rachel Green's latest invention, faster-than-light interdiction fields. The alien vessels dropped back into normal space, trapped and helpless. "You can surrender," Nina told them, "or you can die here. Those are your only choices." Most chose surrender. On Zeph Prime, the final act was playing out in the council chambers. General Vextar stood before the remaining counselors, holding a communication device connected to the human fleet. "The humans are offering terms," he announced. "Complete disarmament, permanent human oversight of all Zephyrian territory, and war crimes trials for leadership." "Unacceptable," declared Counselor Vexval. "We are a proud species. We cannot accept such humiliation." Vextar looked at the counselor with something approaching pity. "The alternative is extinction." Before anyone could respond, the building shook as human weapons struck nearby targets. Through the windows, they could see the capital city's military district burning. "I'm opening a channel to the human admiral," Vextar announced. "We surrender. Unconditionally." In space, Admiral Beth Connor received the Zephyrian surrender with grim satisfaction. But she also knew this was only the beginning. Somewhere in the galaxy, other alien species were watching and learning. They would see what happened when someone attacked humanity. "Broadcast this message on all frequencies," she ordered. "Let every species in the galaxy hear it." Her words echoed across space. carrying a warning that would reshape galactic civilization. This is Admiral Beth Connor of Earth, the Zephyrian. Empire attacked our world and murdered our people. Today, their empire ends. Let all species remember, humans protect what is ours, and we never forget those who threaten us. The message was heard across the galaxy, from primitive worlds just discovering radio to ancient civilizations older than recorded history. All of them learned the same lesson. Humans were now the galaxy's apex predators, and they had become that way by refusing to let their enemies run. 10 years after the first alien ship entered human space, Captain Jake Sullivan walked through the rebuilt streets of New York City and marveled at how much had changed. The city that had been reduced to ash and melted steel was now bigger and more beautiful than before. Towers of gleaming metal and glass reached toward the sky, built with technology that combined human engineering with captured alien science. Flying vehicles moved between the buildings, and the harbor was filled with ships that could travel between stars as easily as crossing an ocean. Jake paused at a memorial wall covered with the names of everyone who had died in the first alien attack. His own name was carved there, along with the crew of Aurora Station. For 5 years, the world had believed they were dead. Still feels strange being alive? Asked a familiar voice behind him. Jake turned to see Dr. Alan Foster approaching. The old scientist looked exactly the same as he had 10 years ago, thanks to alien medical technology that could reverse aging and heal almost any injury. Every day, Jake admitted, when the Zephyrians pulled me from that escape pod, I thought I was going to die in one of their prison camps. Instead, you spent 5 years gathering intelligence that helped us win the war, Foster replied. The information you provided about their military structure was invaluable. Jake nodded, but his expression remained troubled. Have you seen the latest reports from the outer colonies? Foster's smile faded. The refugee situations are complicated. That was putting it mildly. In the decades since humanity had defeated the Zephyrian Empire, over 40 different alien species had requested protection from other threats. Earth now controlled or protected nearly 100 star systems, and the numbers kept growing. They walked together toward the harbor, where massive ships loaded with supplies were preparing to depart for distant worlds. Some carried food and medical supplies to refugee camps. Others carried human soldiers and weapons to defend new colonies. Sometimes I wonder if we've become the thing we fought against, Jake said quietly. Foster considered this carefully. The Zephyrians conquered species to exploit them. We protect species that ask for help. There's a difference. But Jake wasn't entirely convinced. Humanity's military might was so overwhelming that few species dared refuse human protection. When it was offered, Earth's fleets patrolled trade routes. Human technology had become essential for modern civilization, and human colonies were being established throughout the galaxy. In the rebuilt White House, President Alex Carter was meeting with representatives from 12 different alien species. His hair was completely white now, and deep lines marked his face, but his eyes still held the determination that had carried humanity through its darkest hour. The Kethri Republic requests human assistance against Veltar raiders, reported his Secretary of Alien Affairs, Dr. Amy Foster. The raiders have destroyed 3 of their colony worlds. Carter studied the holographic display showing the affected star systems. Military assessment? General Kate Phillips, now Supreme Commander of Human Forces, stepped forward. Sir, we could deploy the 7th Fleet and eliminate the raiders within 2 weeks. However, this would require establishing a permanent base in Kethri space. And they've agreed to this? They're desperate, sir. The raiders have superior technology, and the Kethri can't defend themselves. Carter made his decision quickly. Over the past decade, he had made hundreds of similar choices. Authorize the deployment, but I want strict rules of engagement. We protect the Kethri. We don't conquer them. After the meeting, Carter stood alone in the Oval Office, looking out at the rebuilt Capitol. Sometimes he wondered if they had saved Earth, only to turn humanity into the galaxy's police force. But every time alien raiders attacked innocent colonies, every time a species begged for protection, he made the same choice. It was better for humans to be feared and respected than for innocent people to die. Meanwhile, in a research facility on Mars, Dr. Rachel Green was making discoveries that would reshape the galaxy once again. Her team had been studying the wreckage of ancient alien technology, including artifacts left behind by the mysterious Watchers. "It's incredible," she told her research partner, Dr. Kevin Brooks. "The Watchers weren't just observers. They were guardians. For millions of years, they prevented any single species from dominating the galaxy. What happened to them?" Rachel pointed to the ancient data crystals they had recovered. "They grew old and tired. Their technology failed. Their numbers declined. And eventually, they withdrew from galactic affairs. But before they left, they were looking for a replacement." Kevin studied the alien text scrolling across their displays. "You think they were evaluating us? I think they were testing us. The warning they sent to the Zephyrians wasn't just about human nature. It was about what humans might become." Their conversation was interrupted by an alarm. On the main screen, a priority message appeared from Deep Space Monitoring Station Alpha. Lieutenant Maria Santos, now a commander in the Deep Space Fleet, appeared via hologram. "Dr. Green," Maria reported, "we're detecting massive energy signatures from the Andromeda Galaxy. Something big is coming, and it's not friendly." Rachel felt a chill run down her spine. "How massive?" "Bigger than the Zephyrian Empire, ma'am. Much bigger." Within hours, the message had reached every human command center in the galaxy. Admiral Beth Connor, now Supreme Admiral of the human fleet, convened an emergency meeting of all sector commanders. "The signals suggest a fleet of at least 10,000 ships," she announced to the assembled officers. "They're using technology we don't recognize, and they're heading directly toward our section of the galaxy." Captain Nina Brooks, commanding the Outer Perimeter Forces, raised her hand. "Admiral, what are our orders?" Beth looked around the room at officers who had grown up during the Zephyrian War. They had learned to fight by watching their homes burn. They understood that sometimes the only way to ensure peace was to be ready for war. "Standard protocol," she announced. "We monitor, we prepare, and we remember who we are." On Earth, the news of the approaching alien fleet sparked the same response. It would have 10 years earlier. Factories began producing weapons and ships. Military academies increased recruitment. Research centers focused on improving existing technology. But there was a difference this time. Humanity wasn't facing the threat alone. On the former Zephyrian homeworld of Zeph Prime, now a human protectorate, General Vegstar met with human colonial administrators. The old Zephyrian warrior had spent 5 years in prison for war crimes, but had been released early for good behavior and cooperation. "General," said Colonial Administrator Lisa Park, "we're asking all allied species to contribute to the defense effort. Your people have experience with large-scale military operations." Vegstar considered the request carefully. 10 years ago, he had commanded fleets that terrorized the galaxy. Now he was being asked to help defend it alongside the species he had once tried to conquer. "What assurance do we have that humans won't abandon us if the situation becomes difficult?" Lisa smiled grimly. "General, you of all people should know the answer to that. Humans don't abandon our allies any more than we let our enemies escape." As preparations began across human space, a message arrived from deep space. It was transmitted on frequencies used by the ancient Watchers, and it carried a simple greeting in the universal mathematical language. "We greet the new guardians. The message read, 'The galaxy has chosen its protectors well. Guard it carefully, as we once did. In the decoded data that followed, humanity learned that the approaching fleet was from a species called the Devourers, ancient enemies of the Watchers who had been contained in distant galaxies for millions of years. Now they were free, and they were coming to claim the Milky Way as their own. President Carter addressed the galaxy from the rebuilt United Nations building in New York. His words were broadcast to hundreds of species across thousands of worlds. 10 years ago, aliens came to Earth expecting easy conquest, he began. They learned that humans don't surrender our home to anyone. Today, new aliens approach our galaxy with the same expectation. They will learn the same lesson. He paused, looking directly into the camera. But this time, we're not fighting alone. Every species under human protection, every world that has joined our alliance, every being that values freedom and peace stands with us. Carter's final words echoed across space, carrying a promise that would define humanity's future. We are no longer just the guardians of Earth. We are the guardians of this galaxy, and we never let threats to our family go unpunished. In the depths of space, human fleets began moving toward the galaxy's edge. They carried weapons that could destroy, planets and technology that could fold space itself. But more importantly, they carried the same determination that had driven a handful of survivors from Aurora Station to pursue their enemies across the stars. The galaxy had found its new protectors, and they were ready to prove that the Watchers had chosen well. The Devourers were about to learn what the Zephyrians had discovered. Too late. Humans didn't just fight to win battles. They fought to eliminate threats completely, no matter how long it took or how far they had to travel. And they never, ever let their enemies run.